hope you're doing well. Welcome back to the channel. I wanted to have a bit of a sit-down discussion about some of my experiences with my new Hobonichi Cousin for this year, specifically with the paper for this year, which obviously a lot of people have already been talking about and having experiences with, but I thought that I would share my own so far. And spoiler alert, it does actually have me questioning how I will be using this book in the future, or if I will be using this book in the future, which is very upsetting and disappointing if I'm gonna be honest. So my Hobonichi Cousin was genuinely the first time that I had ever managed in my entire life really to be consistent with journaling. Historically speaking, I have not really filled a journal pretty much ever, and I've never really been very consistent with it. It's mostly been on again, off again, with very long breaks in between, at best. So this journal has a very special place in my heart for that reason. I had some issues with it, but I thought I had kind of worked through those and was really excited and ready to commit to it again this year. So I set up this journal and I was very excited to get into it. And I'm already having issues with the paper, which is so heartbreaking and very disappointing. Before I get into all of this, I did just want to quickly mention that at the end of the day, it is just paper and it is just a notebook. And in the grand scheme of things, these are small problems. These are very small problems. And yeah, I just wanted to acknowledge that. I understand. I understand that it's just a notebook and it's just paper. It's really not that big of a deal. But at the same time, I still wanted to share, my experience so far and my thoughts about it, and also just kind of brainstorm what I will be doing moving forward, because I don't think that I can use this book in the way that I had initially intended. So I am gonna have to adapt and somehow adjust. So let me talk a bit about the experience that I've been having on this paper so far. So when I first got it, I did do a pen test. I came back here and I did a pen swatch. I was very nervous, but I did a quick pen test in the back here. The fountain pens didn't really have any issues, at least on this page, but even on this page, I'm having a little bit of bleed through with my markers. The Tombow brush pen has a little bit of bleed through, but that's really it. I saw this when I first saw this and I first got this, I was like, okay, we're good. This is a good sign. I think I have okay paper. But then I started using it and I should set these things aside here. Okay, we have space again. But then I actually started using it and I found that, yeah, but the pages are very inconsistent and some of my pages definitely have issues, some much more than others. And I feel like it's been impacting how I use this book and how I feel about using this book. So I think the main thing that I'm struggling with in here is actually the markers, which I didn't really expect. So I got the spring version, and by that time, I had obviously heard about the paper and all the issues people were having with it. But for some reason, it just didn't connect in my brain that because people were having issues with fountain pens, that markers might also cause issue. I definitely should have researched more. Because, when I bought this, I was definitely prepared to use gel pen instead of fountain pen in here. I was ready to be okay with that, but I didn't realize that I was also not really going to be able to use my markers, or even some of my drawing pens, like the Tombow Fudenosuke pen. It bleeds through a lot, a lot. And even some of my, actually, yeah, let me show you. Some of my fine liner pens as well bleed through quite a bit. So this up here, I like to do these little pattern designs sometimes. honestly super relaxing to just like fill in little patterns with like a drawing pen or whatever. Anyway, so I did this with my fine liner pen, which shouldn't really cause too many issues. And even this has, I feel like, quite a bit of bleed through. Hopefully the camera is picking that up, but even this I was kind of having issues with. So that's been giving me issues. My drawing pens have been giving me issues, and the markers have been giving me issues. And it's varied from page to page a little bit, but yeah. Let me show. Oh yeah, I've also been doing more of these call out bubbles, all in black. And you can't see it here, but on some of the pages, it really makes a very, very noticeable show through there, which was something I wasn't experiencing before. And then the markers have been not fun to use in here. So once again, I was doing some little pattern things and like marker drawings, and these ones in particular bled through the page quite a lot, which is frustrating because, you know, I finish a page and then I feel like I've ruined it just by using the other side of the page. So I also tried watercolor in here. Oddly enough, this actually doesn't bleed through or anything like that. Nearly as much as my markers do. However, writing on the other side of this made my pen feather horribly. So I think the paper was just oversaturated, and yeah, it was just too much. I don't know if expecting the paper to do that is actually a bit much, even though I feel like the old Tomoe River paper probably would have handled that fine. But yeah, anyway, so my main issue really has been the markers. And I think this page here is really the worst one that I've had so far. So you can see here, this is just a single layer of my Tombow brush pen outlined with my Tombow Fudenosuke. And yeah, that's it. That's all that is. And it's already bleeding through this much. And then also in this page, I had a lot more bleed through with my fountain pen as well. Yeah, so this page is definitely the worst one that I have experienced thus far. And I think this one was really the first time that I started to question how I wanted to use this book moving forward. And by the time I got over here, I had already kind of realized that I can't really use markers in here, and I can't really use my drawing pens. So I started to try and see, you know, what other materials I can use in here instead. So this page here, I used only my Platinum Preppy fountain pen, which actually does fine in here. And it has the, I think it's called the Platinum ink. It's the ink cartridge that comes with the Platinum Preppy in there. So that works fine, I think, or this is just a good page. I can't tell, but I think that works fine. And then you can see I did another swatch test with the markers in here just to show how much show through I'm getting with those. And I've always had some show through with my markers, but it's never been noticeable enough that it would stop me from using them. However, that's not really the case with this paper. I find them to be very distracting, and they kind of detract from like everything that I'm trying to do on the page, right? Like you take the time to structure your page and, you know, like lay everything out so that, I don't know, so that like it flows in a certain way. And then just breaking up that flow are these big blotches on the other side from, you know, whatever I end up doing on this other page over here. So I find it really distracting, and I end up just not being as happy with what I make in here, which makes me not want to be like as creative or explorative in here, like in that kind of way, which is a big reason why I use this journal, because I really enjoy it as a creative space. Like this is from last year, and I don't feel like I had, yeah, I really didn't have many of those problems at all. Even the little black call out speech bubbles that I was doing really did not give me any issue at all. And that's like just not the case this year, unfortunately. Again, this is all the same like Tombow Fudenosuke pen. And yeah, there's not even really any show through for those. But yeah, I really like drawing these things in, and I like being able to like play with those kinds of materials. I really don't feel like I can do that in the book that I have now, which is once again kind of kind of upsetting and really disappointing. So I think I'm at a point where I will be moving my main journal somewhere else. I don't know where that is yet. I have a few things in mind that I may try, but I don't think I'll be staying in here for my main journal. I think I'm going to continue to use this as my morning pages and like only use pen in here just so the book doesn't go completely unused. But I don't think that this will be my main journal for this year, which means that I kind of like don't have a main journal for this year. Yeah, I really don't. So I was trying to think like where can I go instead, and I kind of don't know. Like I said, this is really the first journal that I actually like filled out and that I was very consistent with. So I don't know. I think I am going to just think of this as a little trial period as I try to figure out what I will be doing instead. So I have briefly tried a traveler's notebook before, and honestly the main reason that I didn't like it is I don't love their plain grid insert, which is what I wanted to use for my daily pages. I just really don't like how large the grids are. It's a 5mm grid, and I definitely prefer a much smaller grid. Also, in an ideal world, I prefer cream paper as well. The MD cream paper is my favorite paper probably ever. So I was in here a little bit, but I didn't really get along with the grid size, especially in this like smaller size. I felt like I noticed it even more because there were just simply, I don't know, there were just less lines on the page, if that makes any sense. So I kind of had a hard time with that. Honestly, that's probably one of the main reasons why I didn't really stick with the traveler's notebook as a journal. So I might have a way to deal with the grid insert that I don't like. I could potentially make my own. And I actually did make one. I was gonna use this for overflow photos from my Hobonichi Cousin for this year, but basically I bought an MD paper pad from JetPens in an A4 size, and I printed my own grids on it, and then I stapled it and folded it and cut it down to size. And yeah, it wasn't that bad. It's not that bad to make my own inserts. So this is definitely an option, I think, moving forward, is I could just make my own inserts and I could use this as my journaling space. I think I would still like an A5 size journal in my life somewhere. So I don't know if I will use this with something else or at all. I don't know. I'm gonna have to try things out and just see how they go. The other thing that I'm kind of considering is actually journaling in a rings binder. I've used a rings binder for planning off and on again, but honestly mostly on for the last like half year or so at this point. So I've gotten fairly comfortable like making my own pages and printing them out and that whole process. Like I'm pretty comfortable with that now, but I've always just used this as a planner, and I've never really used it as a journaling space or a more creative space. So I don't know, maybe that would be a really fun thing to explore. I've also been playing with making my own tabs here, which actually is also not too bad to do. I basically just print these out on like cardstock. I have some Nina cardstock, and then I just cut them out with the little tab there and then hole punch them, and yeah, so that's not bad. But yeah, I could see me, you know, really customizing it and making this my like main journaling space for, I guess, what's left of this year. Yeah. And I don't know, maybe moving forward as well, depending on how it goes. And once again, I think for the paper that I would use in here, I would probably just get another like MD cream paper pad. There's probably other places you can buy them, but the one place I know that I can find it is at JetPens. So I would probably just get one of those and then print my pages out and then hole punch them. And then I would have MD cream paper, and I would also be able to really customize the actual page that I'm on as well, which would be really nice. So I could pick my grid size, I could pick the page layout, I could pick what sections I want. So of the two options that I'm considering, I do really think that I am leaning towards the rings. Also because it would be easier to backfill, which is something that at this point I want to do at least a little bit of, because it's so late in the year and my journaling for this year is, I don't know, it feels a little scattered at this point in time. So I do I do want to kind of like backfill and put everything in one location again. So a rings binder would actually make that very easy to do, right? Because I can continue adding new pages when I'm ready for them without having to worry about conserving the right amount of paper for, you know, my past days that I want to fill in, and then I can kind of fill those in whenever I have time. So I do like that as well. That is also kind of appealing to me, I think. I'm also kind of excited about the possibility of being able to hole punch and stick in more ephemera. I don't have to be so restrictive about what I put in here. Yeah, like I can put in like little bits of packaging or I don't know, I don't really have much in here yet, but like I could do that. By the way, I should mention what I have set up here is not actually a journal. It's for my planner. I was gonna try and come back into rings for planning as well, and maybe also for journaling at this point in time. But I was just making some divider tabs here and trying to decorate it a little bit more. I don't usually decorate my planning space all that much, but I've been trying to get into that a little bit more. So yeah, basically a rings binder is also a possibility. Those are really the two main things that I've been thinking of so far. I also would kind of be interested in, actually there's two other notebooks that I could maybe see myself using. The Codex from Midori, I think that would be nice. And then I was also looking at the Leuchtturm with the I think it's like 411 pages. So I was also considering that a little bit, but I don't know. I think truly my preference would be to have like MD cream paper, but with a smaller grid size. And the best way for me to get that specifically would be to make my own and print my own. And these are really the two ways that I can think of doing that. So that's where I'm at right now. But yeah, I'm still kind of upset that this book is not going to be what I hoped it would be for me. It's been a few days now since I first really started to realize that the paper was having a lot of issues. So I've calmed down. I've calmed down a little bit, but yeah, when I first started really noticing it, I was very upset. And yeah, I'm a bit calmer now. And hopefully more level-headed, because at the time I was ready to just not use this at all. And I still kind of think about like not using it at all as well. I think deep down I do know that I would just prefer to be somewhere else and not have to deal with this paper or book at all at this point. Like I have an old Leuchtturm here that's like not being used, and I did a quick just like test page yesterday just to see how I would feel about writing in it and how I would feel about being in here for my morning pages. And I'll read what I wrote. The first thing that I wrote in here was, so it took me about 2 minutes of being on paper that I don't actually hate to realize what a difference it makes. Yeah, so I think on some level, like, I know I would have a better time in here. I know I would enjoy being in here more. However, I have this like sense of like guilt for quote unquote wasting paper and wasting a book. Yeah. So those are my thoughts on that. I don't know. On the one hand, I want to try and make it work because I don't want to be wasteful. But on the other hand, I know I would genuinely just be happier and have a better time somewhere else. But that's really just for my morning pages. I think I have already made the decision about like my main journal. Like that's not going to be in here. It honestly, I don't think that it can be in here with the way that I like journaling. So that for sure is going to move somewhere else. But I don't know. I just wanted to try and salvage it in some way. Maybe I use it as an everything notebook or something like that. And I just come in here to jot down notes when I need it. And it doesn't have to be neat or anything. And it's just a space for me to think on paper. That way, you know, it still gets used. I still get some use out of it. But I don't know. I genuinely don't know at this point. By the way, I should mention, I have not had any of these issues in my Hobonichi weeks at all. So even though I've been kind of struggling with this space and using this space, my materials have at least been pretty good in here. I haven't really had too many issues with my markers or anything like that bleeding through on the other side of the page. So that's been nice at least. I guess I do technically have a little bit of bleed through on these, but this is with me like layering in marker and putting on 2 different markers on the same spot here. So yeah, I feel like that's like not too bad. Especially compared to, you know, my Hobonichi pages, which I had literally like one layer of marker and that was already bleeding through to the other side. So I feel like this has actually been doing pretty well. I guess I will continue to try and make it work, even though I haven't been super happy in here. I'll keep giving this a try, I think, for now. Maybe that's my way of keeping Hobonichi in my life at least a little bit. Never thought I'd see the day where the Weeks is my main Hobonichi. Anyway, that's all I have for today. Have you had any issues with your Tomoe River paper? Did you order it and then like it didn't work out and you changed? Did you order it and it didn't work out and you stuck with it? Did you order it and like it worked perfectly fine and you had no issues at all? Did you avoid it altogether? Maybe. But yeah, hopefully you've had some good luck with your journals this year in terms of paper and things working out. Thank you so much for stopping by and listening to me rant and think my way through this out loud. And yeah, I'll see you next time.